Hey there guys, how's it going? There is tons and tons and tons of stuff happening in the game right now. It is the advent of JP's 3rd anniversary, and with that comes a brand new changes to game mechanics, medal releases, all sorts of stuff. So we're going to talk about the game mechanics in a second. Let's talk about this big boy up here really quickly because he just released in our version first for some strange reason. We have Kingdom Hearts 3 Riku EX. It is a tier 8 medal, which is crazy, and even crazier than that, he drops in his banner without a mercy pool, unfortunately, but he drops in the banner potentially at 7 stars. Meaning that all the points I usually say about, okay, tier 8s are great and everything, but it just takes all those fairies to upgrade them, which is so rare. That just sort of skips over that whole problem, doesn't it? If you can get him to drop at 7 stars, if you're very, very lucky and have that happen. We'll talk about how ridiculously broken he is in just a second, so let's go over his stats. So, he looks a lot like Roxas vs Riku and the two other primes like that, the Roxas Xion and the Illustrator Prime Roxas off the bat, so I'm just going to refer to those 3 primes as those 3 primes if I mention them. In terms of the stats, he does a lot like those 3 primes in terms of he gives himself his own attribute of the speed, power, and magic variety, so he gives himself +7 as well as +3 to the upright at 7-star version. And to the enemies, just like the other 3 primes, he gets rid of -7 to his own attribute, in this case speed, and upright, just like they did, and -7 to general defense, where they only took off -5, so he's already improving in that regard. He gives you back 3 gauges because he's very expensive and costs 6. What that means though, of course, is you can slap an attack boost 7 max and special attack gauge 1 or 2 or whatever skill like that on, and actually have him as a gauge restoring medal, which is crazy. He does 3 hits, which is really, really good in a high score challenge. Not amazing, of course, in terms of like 1 hit would be superior, but 3 is still pretty damn good. Doesn't affect the counter whatsoever, so again, in the really difficult challenges, I mean, think, you know, Demix Plus is coming up next month, a magic type enemy most likely, this is gonna be so good for that if you can get it. And has the current biggest guild boost in the entire game at +100%, which is just, that's not going to stop anytime soon. That's just going to keep on going and going and going. So +100 apparently is the new norm. The thing about this medal though that makes it extremely good, in my opinion, is the fact that it can switch between single and all target. I cannot understate how impressive that ability is. It makes it so freaking good at, you know, it's so versatile. If you have these things, like, again, if you're a free-to-play player with limited purchasing power, these are the kinds of medals I would always recommend, just because you can take him into Colosseum, you can take him into PvP, you can take him into raiding, you can do absolutely friggin' everything with them. They are so damn versatile, it's just so hard to avoid. These, okay, let's talk about his stats really quickly then. And like always, we'll give you some context to what they mean in a second. So, at the 6-star version, which can drop from the banner, I think it's got roughly the same drop rate as the 7-star version itself, but the 6-star version, as an all-target medal at max skill at 230%, hits for 14.45, and as a single target, 21.45. In itself, already impressive, but let's look at the 7-star version. Again, fully gilded at 230%, which it has to be as an all-target. Hits for 31.48 as an all-target medal. That is better than a lot of single-target medals. Not heaps, but that's very, 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 very good as an all-target medal. And as a single-target medal, hits for 47.39, which is super impressive. Super impressive. Again, we'll give you context for that in a second. And then applying that 100% guild boost, which I think I'll start doing it like this from now on, times 56 multiplier. That's what I meant, sorry. I meant that is higher than some single target medals. 56 multiplier as an all target medal. That is so much damage. It's absurd. And then 61.75 as a single target, which makes it, well, I'll show you guys right now, it makes it one of the absolute strongest medals in the game. And the fact that it drops like that, you don't have to go ahead and use fairies to upgrade it, is completely ridiculous. But here we are. So I'm going to try and make this visible for you guys. So that's the graph. You obviously can't see that at all, so let's go next. Hey, it worked. Lovely. Okay, so the arrow points out basically its relevance in terms of the entire, well, at least, you know, tier 3 and above 7 target, single target and random target medals. Good lord, I can't talk. 7-star is what I meant. You can pull that in a little bit closer and see that it's literally only beaten by 5 medals in the global version. In the Japanese version, there is 1 more that sits on top of it, but it's tied with Sora and Simba and Bob and Jack Jack being the Cloud and Leon medal. In terms of the ones that beat it as a single target medal, there is only Sykes Plus, Illustrated Invisible, and technically Toon, Sora, and Goofy as well, except for the fact that that medal casts a Dispel on the enemies first, so that actually wipes away all the enemies' debuffs, so technically this thing's always going to hit harder than that will, because you know, you have the debuffs. And obviously it makes it hit way harder. And then of course those high score challenge medals on the very top, being Bob and Jack and Sora and Simba, are, in terms of damage, a little bit better. But again, I'm only using the 80% guild here. I try and have like a flat 80% guild across all these medals, and I will change that over time as the game changes. Just so, like, let's say for example you have Fairy Stars and you have this Riku and Fairy Stars on the 5th slot, and then you have Bob and Jack or Sora and Simba in the 6th. Even though Riku gets a 100% guild boost to itself, which we can see right there. We turn it from whatever 58 that you can see right now to 61.75. We pushed it up a little bit higher. If you were to have one of these, like, quote-unquote stronger medals following it, they would also get the 100% boost as well. So it's just trying to keep everything on the same relative scale. But again, still a ridiculously impressive medal, and the fact that you don't have to invest any tier 8 fairies, which I cannot understate enough, makes it such a powerful medal. In terms of all target, let's go over those really quickly. God, that's hard to see. So all target medals are sitting right there. And we can zoom that in a little bit as well. Okay, so we've now zoomed into the tier 8s. You can see that it's slightly more powerful than Axel. But it sits, you know, Axel has to be in the very back of the Keyblade, where this thing can be literally anywhere. Slightly weaker than a stained glass medal at slot 1. But again, with the stained glass medal in slot 1, those medals give themselves quite a lot of buffs, but not the full complement. Whereas every single time they get, like, further back into the Keyblade, they get weaker and weaker. This thing can be literally anywhere in the Keyblade and will hit for that AoE that ridiculous all-target multiplier. And you can, of course, get good buffs on it first. You can get the full upright strength that you need. You can get... That's literally all that you need, actually, because, well, you need general strength and you need upright, because this thing does all the rest of the work itself in terms of its own buffs and debuffs. It's ridiculously good. Yeah, if you get 7 general strength on it and plus 4 to the upright strength, that's all you need. And then this thing hits at its absolute most powerful that it can be. It's crazy. It's so crazy. And then it actually hits a little bit weaker than the AoE medals like Sephiroth Plus, Cloud Plus, Vanitas Plus, and Master Xehanort Plus, and KHUx 16. A little bit weaker than those. It does hit a decent bit weaker than the one hit sacrificing all of your gauges that young Mickey B and the Pete medal, I forget its name, Pete from the High Score Challenge medal hit. But think about that for a second. That's going to consume all of your gauges. That's a huge downside there. No matter what skill you put on that, they will always consume all the gauges. Let's say, for example, you get extra attack on a medal like this. Extra attack could potentially be restoring your own gauges if you have the correct skill on it. And the second attack is going to hit really hard. Think about if you have extra attack on the top medal up the top there. Previous. That actually falls down right to the bottom there. You guys probably can't see it, but roughly where my head is right there, that number right there is the number for young Mickey B and the Pete medal with 0 gauges cast. So as soon as that attacks once, it falls right down in terms of power. Really quite low, which is really surprising. Needless to say, this medal is insanely good. And again, it can drop at 7 stars, meaning you skip all the bullcrap getting it to that level of power. It's already right there. If you guys do decide to pull for it, I know I'm talking it up a big game right now, but of course, no mercy means you really shouldn't be rushing out to pull this thing. You never know what's going to come next. JP's anniversary is still, like, hasn't even really probably begun yet. If I were to assume anything, I would assume that potentially we might see a upright power version of this medal as well. Consider that in the English version, well, yeah, the global version, we received KHUx 17, which they got as well. And then we also got the Toy Story medals, being Buzz and Woody, which are the upright power and speed respectively. They didn't get those, so this is kind of their upright speed version of the medals we already had. If I were you, and you wanted an upright power instead, I'd say there's a decent shot of getting those to fall, like getting those as well. So whether you want to go ahead and pull for this one right now, or hang on a little bit for the potential upright power that might be coming, as well as whatever else might be coming in the next few weeks, I would probably do that. You know, there's 14 days on this banner, 2 full weeks. We haven't had a high score challenge announcement yet. There is no need to rush out and go ahead and pull for this thing, despite how freaking good it is. And it seems to have decent pull rates, but again, I'm not condoning pulling off this thing, just to be very clear. Okay, enough sucking off Riku. Let's go ahead and talk about some of the other things from this anniversary. So, very first thing here, you see that I'm on the pet screen. And you might notice that we can now level up this pet. There are no medals currently that I know of. I mean, if I had to guess, I would guess this boy right here, but no medals that I currently know of that exceed the 96 pet points that sets you at level 9. If I had to guess, I would say Riku and all medals going forward would give you more than 96 pet points when you either trade them or guild them or what have you. So, What the pet does at level 10 and beyond, I'm not too sure yet, but I guess we'll find that out pretty soon when the big boys start pulling however many copies of Riku. In addition to that, JP's received these updates, and I'm guessing we'll receive them in the next few days too. We might have already received them, but we don't necessarily know yet because no one's... Well, I'll tell you. Okay, so the Lux level cap has increased from 500 to 800, which I might never reach in my lifetime because I'm only at level 400 right now. But I'm sure some whales are like, or not necessarily whales, but the big boys who like to raid are like, okay, that's a challenge, and challenge accepted. So 800, I assume it's going to take a millennia for the common player to do that, but given that some players are already at 500 in both the global and a lot in the JP server, I assume they're going to hit that cap eventually, and probably in a short amount of time than we expect them to. In addition to that, there is like these avatar boards right now which award 20 gems, this is in the Japanese version, 20 gems of each attribute for 2,500 jewels apiece. So 2,500 jewels for either the 20 gems of the power board, or 2,500 for the speed board, or 2,500 for 20 gems of the magic board. So 7,500 jewels will get you up to 60 gems, which go towards upgrading the Keyblades, which have had their level caps raised from 40 to 50. Again, something that I'm likely never going to see in my lifetime because my highest ranked Keyblade is like Fairy Stars, and I don't even know if it's level 37 yet, but to the big boys at the top who want to do that, more power to you, and quite literally, more power to you. It's going to be, again, the strong get stronger in this game, and this is really no exception. Finally, one last thing I do want to mention, which is really cool. We are getting these coins, and people have been telling me they're representative of different gacha games, where Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle did this, apparently, thank you proper artist. And essentially, they took all the gems, all the power stones in that game that you spend, and for every, I think he said every 50 power stones you've spent in that game, it's not over the lifetime of the entire game, but it's over quite a long period of time, from like whatever the previous update was to when that update came out. They kept track of that, and they said, okay, for every stones you spent during this time, you get one ticket to pull off this really cool banner. So we're getting something like that. It's not necessarily the same, but I'm happy to see it nonetheless. We're getting these coins, which apparently can be spent on a board, which will then give us stuff. Now, whether it's hopefully not HDLs, like the Huey Dewey Louis, Chip and Dales wouldn't be too bad, but if it's like really cool medals, that'd be pretty sick. And who knows how long they've been recording it for. If it's from the very start of the game, that would be amazing, especially to a long-time player who doesn't spend much, but you know, spends every few months consistently when there's good stuff out. I'd be really happy with that. But yeah, I guess we'll find out more about that potentially tonight, potentially, you know, a few hours away from the time of recording. And by the time my amazing Australian internet uploads this, it may already be out by that point, but I'm definitely going to put out a video about that. I'm really keen to find out everything that's going on with those coins. So, and if it's like a limited time or not, only for the anniversary, who knows. But anyway, guys, let me know what you're thinking about all this. I'm really keen for all these updates that are coming out. I really want to pull for that medal, but I'm like, no, just wait. 2 weeks. It's a 2-week banner. Anything could happen in those 2 weeks. It's JP's anniversary. Literally anything could happen. So, oh boy, let me know your thoughts, guys. I'm really keen. If you've gone ahead and pulled this thing already, I want to see it in action. But I wouldn't recommend pulling it just yet, even though it's probably the best medal. It is by far and away the strongest medal ever to drop from a banner. No question. It is the strongest medal ever to come from a banner. Because there are technically medals stronger than it, yes, but they require extremely rare upgrade materials to get, whereas this thing in the flesh right here. Oh, did I forget to mention, even though it's not a prime medal, it does come with it does come with 5 trait slots, making it, again, potentially exceptionally powerful. It's not like a high score challenge medal where you sort of get your lot and then that's it. You get your maximum 3-4 rolls on it and then that's it. This thing you can roll as many times as you can pull, basically, which crazy. Alright, enough about Riku. Let's go. I'll see you guys later. All the best. Bye.